Is this it, Robert? 10 years of a secret life? While I was sitting right across from you at dinner? Don't act so innocent, Mary. I've seen the photos of you at that apartment across town. It turns out we were both living a lie. Then let's stop pretending. Let's see who walks away from this wreck with enough to survive. Robert and Mary Miller had spent 30 years building what everyone in the neighborhood called a perfect life. Robert, a 57-year-old executive at a top-tier construction firm, was the picture of the self-made American man. Mary, 52, was the pillar of the community, the dedicated mother who had successfully steered their two sons into Ivy League universities. Their colonial-style home in the suburbs was a monument to their success. But that afternoon, the monument began to crumble. It was a quiet Saturday. The rain had just started to hit the windows. Robert was upstairs taking a shower when his smartphone, left on the kitchen island, vibrated with an incoming message. Mary, who usually respected his privacy, felt a strange instinct. She looked at the screen. A name she didn't recognize, Miller Real Estate, had sent a text. The luxury condo lease renewal is finalized. I kept it quiet from your wife as requested. You're all set. Mary picked up the phone. Her hands didn't shake, they went cold. She walked toward Robert's home office. The bottom drawer of his mahogany desk, which was always locked, was slightly ajar. She pulled it open. Inside, she found a stack of bank statements showing monthly transfers of $5,000 to a woman named Samantha. Below those were title deeds for a condo and a commercial space, all under Samantha's name. The shower stopped upstairs. A few minutes later, Robert walked into the living room, drying his hair. He stopped when he saw the documents spread out on the coffee table. He didn't yell. He didn't even look surprised. He calmly walked to his briefcase, pulled out a thick yellow envelope, and tossed it next to the bank statements. Inside were high-resolution photographs of Mary entering a young man's apartment downtown, dates, times, and locations all logged. Are you going to explain this, Robert? 10 years of funneling our money to this woman? You told me we had to cut back on the boys' college funds, and yet you were buying condos for her? Robert leaned against the doorframe, crossing his arms. Samantha? Yeah, I took care of her. But that's pocket change compared to what you've been spending on your charity work. Or should I call him by his name? I've been watching you for a long time, Mary. I was just waiting for the right moment to collect the evidence. You knew? And you sat there at breakfast every morning acting like the perfect husband? You spent a third of our marriage with another woman, Robert. You are a stranger to me. We're both strangers, then. You played the elegant suburban wife while you were bankrolling a guy half your age with my hard-earned money. Every cent you spent on him came from my sweat. You think you can just walk away with half of my empire after that? There will be consequences for this. Mary stood up, gripping the edge of the table. Consequences? I spent 30 years managing this house and raising your children while I gave up my own career. I'm going to find every offshore account you've hidden. I know about the shell companies, Robert. Don't think for a second I'm leaving this house with nothing. Try it. I've already contacted my legal team. I'll sue for every dollar of marital assets you diverted to that kid. I'm going to make sure you and your little friend end up with nothing but the clothes on your backs. I'll have the cars and the jewelry seized before the week is over. You think you're safe with Samantha? I have proof that you've been inappropriate financial actions to pay for those properties. If you want to keep your career and stay out of a courtroom, you'll give me 50% and sign the papers quietly. Robert let out a sharp, dry laugh. Mismanagement? You're bluffing. You've seen the tip of the iceberg, Mary. You think I'm stupid enough to leave a trail you could follow? Most of my assets are already in places you can't even pronounce. Good luck finding them. The living room, once a place of warmth, had become a cold battlefield. The bond of 30 years was gone, replaced by a calculated urge to ruin the other. Robert was consumed by the fact that his money had gone to another man. Mary was driven by the realization that her husband had secured a future for himself with another woman while she was left out of the equation. Watching this from the shadows of the hallway were their sons, Jack and Kevin. They didn't step in. They didn't cry. Jack held his phone, recording every word, while Kevin used his camera to zoom in on the documents scattered on the table. "Did you hear that, Jack? Dad's hidden assets are way bigger than we thought. That commercial building alone is worth millions. And Mom's charity? It was all going to that guy. That was our inheritance they were throwing away. What's the move? If they keep this up, they'll spend everything on lawyers. It'll all be gone before we see a dime." Jack looked at the screen of his phone, his face cold. "Don't worry. We play both sides. We tell Dad we have more evidence on Mom's guy in exchange for the deed to the beach house. Then we tell Mom we can track Dad's offshore accounts if she wires us a consultation fee. To them, we aren't sons anymore. We're just assets they need to win the war." Kevin nodded, a grim smile on his face. The day their parents' decade of lies was exposed was the day the sons prepared their own betrayal. The Miller family dream was dead, and the opportunists took their chance. After the initial explosion of truth, the Miller household fell into a deafening silence. Robert and Mary retreated to separate rooms, locking the doors. It wasn't about apologies anymore, it was about speed. They needed to move assets, delete digital footprints, and secure their own financial futures before the divorce. Lawyers turned their lives into a public spectacle. Robert sat in his dark home office, the blue glow of his laptop illuminating a face that looked 10 years older. As a construction executive, he knew how to move money through subcontractors. He picked up his secure line and called his longtime associate, Mr. "Henderson, it's me. That development project we discussed. I need you to redirect the $500,000 from the unpaid balance. Not to my personal account. Send it to the shell corporation we set up in Delaware. Do it now." On the other side of the house, Mary was just as focused. She opened the small safe hidden behind the floor-length mirror in her dressing room. Inside were thousands of dollars worth of gold bars and loose diamonds she had been quietly collecting for years. She sent an encrypted message to her contact at a high-end art gallery. "I'm ready to buy those 3 paintings we discussed, but I need the invoices to show a much higher price than the actual sale. Return the difference to me in cash tomorrow morning. Let's keep this between us." The next morning, the couple met in the kitchen. The screaming had stopped, replaced by a cold, professional hostility. A pot of coffee sat on the counter, but neither poured a cup for the other. "You're seeing your attorney today, I assume," Mary said, her voice flat. "I want the settlement papers ready. If you want to keep this from becoming a scandal at your firm, you'll agree to my terms and walk away quietly." "Your terms? You mean the condo I bought with my own income? That's half of my hard work, Mary. I'm not signing anything until I see a full audit of your charity accounts. I won't let you take a cent of my empire while you're planning a life with someone else. 30 years, Robert. I gave you 30 years, and this is how you treat the mother of your children? 30 years? 10 of those were a performance. You started the lie. I'm just finishing the business deal." Suddenly, Jack, their eldest son, walked into the kitchen holding his tablet. He didn't look like a grieving child. He looked like a man making a pitch in a boardroom. He sat down at the breakfast bar and turned the screen toward them. You both seem very busy this morning, Jack said with a chilling calmness. But we have a problem. Mom, I know about your message to the gallery last night. And Dad, I tracked that wire transfer request to Delaware. I have it all right here. Robert and Mary stared at their son in shock. The screen showed a log of Robert's calls and a photo of the open safe in Mary's room. Jack. What is this? This is our private business, Mary whispered, her face pale. Private business? Mom, in this house, everything is an asset now. You're both trying to hide marital property, which is a serious legal issue. If this data finds its way to the wrong hands, it won't just be a divorce, it'll be a full financial investigation. Robert's voice shook with anger. What do you want, Jack? I want my future secured. Dad? That beach house in Florida? I want the deed transferred to my name by the end of the week. Do that, and I'll keep quiet about your offshore accounts. Mom, if you wire me $200,000 for my startup venture, I'll make sure Dad's investigators never find your hidden stash in that safe. Mary gasped, clutching her chest. I raised you to be better than this. You raised me to win, Jack countered. Before they could respond, Kevin, the younger son, walked in from the patio, leaning against the door frame with a cynical smirk. Jack is playing small. I have 10 years of logs from both of your private servers. I've already uploaded them to a secure cloud. One click, and Dad's board of directors gets the full story, and Mom's social circle sees every photo I found. Kevin, not you too! Mary cried. Why not? You taught us how to lie, didn't you? Dad taught us how to hide the truth, and Mom taught us how to manipulate it. I'm just the best student in the room. I want a new car and my full Ivy League tuition and living expenses covered in a trust fund. Now, or the entire world sees who the Millers really are. The kitchen had become an arena of 4 opportunists. The parents hated each other's betrayal, and the sons hated their parents' greed while simultaneously craving it. Robert let out a hollow, dry laugh. Well, I see. I didn't raise sons. I raised opportunists. We're just survivors, Dad. We learned from the best, Jack replied coldly. Mary collapsed into a chair, silent tears streaming down her face. But the tears didn't melt the ice in the room. Robert grabbed his briefcase and stood up, his eyes turning stone cold. Fine, let's make a deal. But there's a condition. Jack, Kevin, bring me the most damaging piece of evidence you have on each other's mother. Whoever brings me the winning hand gets the bigger share of my trust. If we're doing business, let's do it right. Robert's offer was a poisoned bait. Jack and Kevin looked at each other. The bond of brotherhood vanished in a second. Now it was a race to see who could ruin their parents more effectively for a bigger slice of the pie. Mary wiped her eyes, her gaze turning sharp and venomous. I'll do the same. Whoever brings me the access codes to your father's hidden accounts gets my share of the estate. Find your own way to survive. In this house, there is no such thing as family anymore. That afternoon, Jack and Kevin retreated to their respective rooms, blocking each other on all platforms. Jack began bribing his father's secretary for more info, while Kevin searched for a way to hack his mother's gallery transactions. The war had moved beyond the bedroom. It was now an all-out siege on the Miller legacy. As night fell, Robert sent a text to Samantha. Almost there. I'm clearing the board. I'll have enough to start our new life soon. Mary, in her room, whispered into her phone to the young man, It's happening. I'm going to leave him with nothing. Just wait for me. In the center of this battlefield, 30 years of history were being torn apart by the very people who had sworn to protect it. A week had passed since the silent war began. The Miller estate, once a symbol of prestige, was now a cold vault of secrets. 4 individuals sat around the mahogany dining table, surrounded by stacks of legal documents and financial records. There was no need for small talk. The only thing left was the final strike. "Let's end this, Robert," Mary said, sliding a folder across the table. Her eyes held no trace of the 30 years they had shared. "I've filed a petition for a full forensic audit of your firm's recent consulting fees. If you don't sign over 50% of the total assets now, I'll take this to the board. You'll be finished in this industry." Robert looked at the folder but didn't open it. He leaned back, a twisted smirk on his face. "Do you think I'm the only one with something to lose? I've already shared information about your gallery's private acquisitions with the appropriate authorities. By tomorrow morning, you and your little art contact will be facing a very public inquiry. Let's see who hits the ground first." They were both swinging knives in the dark, unaware that the blades were already at their own throats. Jack stood up, looking at his parents with pure calculation. "You both still don't get it," Jack said. "You're so busy trying to ruin each other that you're burning down the house while we're still inside. Dad, do you have the deed for the Florida house ready? Because if not, I'm giving Mom the access codes to your secondary server right now." "Jack, stay out of this," Mary snapped. "This is between your father and me." "It's about my future," Jack shouted back. "Dad, the clock is ticking." Kevin, leaning back in his chair, tapped a rhythm on the table with a silver pen. "Jack, is too late. I've already seen the exit plan. Mom, Dad is planning to move to Europe with Samantha next month. He's been liquidating assets through an offshore broker. He was going to leave us all with nothing." "Is that true, Robert?" Mary's voice was a high, thin reed of desperation. "You were going to abandon your own sons?" Robert stood up, his face reddening with a mix of rage and exhaustion. "Why shouldn't I? Look at this family. My wife spent a decade with another man, and my sons are treating me like an ATM. I spent my life building this, and I'm not letting any of you tear it apart. I'm taking what's mine and starting over." Robert grabbed his leather briefcase and headed for the front door. But before he could reach the handle, the doorbell rang sharp and insistent. The 4 of them froze. Through the side window, the red and blue lights of unmarked vehicles flashed against the manicured lawn. A group of federal agents in windbreakers stood at the door. "Robert Miller, we have a warrant to search these premises, and a summons for your appearance regarding inappropriate financial actions and unresolved tax obligations. Mary Miller, you are also required for questioning regarding undocumented luxury assets and related violations. Please step away from the door." The color drained from Robert's face. The very evidence they had gathered to destroy each other had triggered a massive investigation that now swallowed the entire family. Agents entered the house, beginning a systematic search of every room. Jack and Kevin tried to hide their laptops, but the agents were faster, seizing every device in the house. "Jack and Kevin Miller, you're also part of this inquiry. There are records of you seek personal gain through undisclosed information. We'll need you to come with us as well." The American Dream home was now a crime scene. Robert was escorted out for further questioning, his head bowed. Mary collapsed onto the designer rug, letting out a hollow, broken laugh. The sons began shouting at each other in the hallway, blaming one another for the greed that had led the authorities to their door. "This is your fault. You should have kept your mouth shut." Months later, the 4 of them met one last time in the cold marble lobby of the federal courthouse. Robert looked haggard, his career and reputation gone. Most of the hidden assets had been seized or paid out in massive fines and back taxes. Mary had lost the house and was living in a small apartment on the outskirts of town. Jack and Kevin, burdened by legal fees and a ruined family name, were struggling to find anyone willing to hire them. Robert looked at his wife and sons with hollow eyes. "Are you satisfied now? The nightmare is finally over. We have nothing left." Mary didn't answer. She just stared at the floor. Jack and Kevin turned and walked toward different exits without a word or a backward glance. The name Miller was no longer a symbol of success. It was a brand of regret. In that house, family had become a word they would never speak again.